Hello and welcome to Bolt Action Reloading. In today's video we'll be discussing some new 6.5 Creedmoor brass we got from Peterson Cartridge Company. Stick around. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you'd like to see how I and the rest of the community here make our group smaller, start now by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon. That way you get notified when I post new videos and you won't miss anything. In today's video we're once again going to be talking about brass and 6.5 Creedmoor. If you guys are familiar with the channel, you'll know that I've actually evaluated several types of brass here on the channel, and I'll actually put a card up so you guys can go check those out when the video is over if you'd like. And you can see all the different types and all the performance and measurements that I've taken on 6.5 Creedmoor brass in the past to help you guys decide which one is best. Now, I honestly thought all of my brass testing would be done by now, and frankly, I had no real intention in actually testing any more brands of brass. One of the most repetitive comments that I've gotten on my brass videos before was, "Hey, have you tried Peterson Brass?" I honestly wasn't going to say anything good or bad about it. I really just didn't intend to test it. I've had some pretty good luck with some of the brass that I've already bought, and I really had no intention of purchasing any further. But I thought, hey, if they'll send me some samples, maybe I'll do some testing. So I actually did reach out to Peterson Brass and send a couple emails back and forth. I wasn't exactly sure what happened, but just for full disclosure, I did reach out to Peterson Brass Company because I thought maybe I would get some samples and try them out here on the channel. Probably too long of a story up to this point, but the short answer is I actually purchased all of this brass on my own. It's still at the time of this video, Peterson has not provided me any brass that I haven't bought through normal retail channels. Because basically, I would occasionally again get another comment, read some more information, and there's actually been some very good reports on Peterson Brass. If you guys are actually unfamiliar, we'll talk a little bit about Peterson Brass, specifically to 6.5 Creedmoor. They actually offer three varieties. They offer a large rifle primer brass, a small rifle primer brass, and also what they call a fat neck cartridge. The only brass I'll be talking about today is a small rifle primer. I'm not exactly sure how thick the fat neck is, and honestly, it was out of stock when I looked for it. So I honestly don't know even if they're still offering it or if they've discontinued it. Those were the three types of brass that they offered, and since I've had such good luck with the Lapua Brass and the primer pockets have stayed a little longer on that brass, I decided small rifle primer brass was where I was going to go. And that's what we're talking about today. Unlike the Lapua Brass, I don't have 300 pieces. I only bought 50, but I will say that's one of the actual benefits of this brass. You can buy it in quantities of 50 or even 250. Buying it in packs of 50, you'll see it actually comes with its own case. So if you'd like to add $5 to the value of it, you can right there. They're actually very nice cartridge cases. You can take the brass, load it, put it in there, and use it for the life of the brass. It's very nice, very clean, and works very well. Another benefit to this packaging, as you'll see, there's actually a foam insert on the top of all of the brass. This ensures that your brass gets to you with no bent case necks. Let me say that one more time, guys. No bent case necks. This brass was in the best condition of any brass that I have ever gotten, hands down. I was so surprised how clean it was and what good shape it was actually in. Normally, I still full-length resize my brass, but the brass was so nice, the necks were in such good shape. The only thing that I actually did was take my 6.5 Creedmoor Sinclair, a little bit of dry neck lube, and run it through them to make sure that they were actually sized to the correct neck tension before I loaded them. That was the only thing that I did to this brass before primer, powder, and bullet. Like I said, very impressed with the quality that it arrived in. Now when most of us talk about premium brass, everyone wants to compare to Lapua. And I really don't want to intend to do that today, but we will talk a little bit about that. Some of my best loads have been with Lapua Brass. It does seem to last, and so that is obviously why it tends to naturally be in the discussion for comparing this brass. Depending on where you're procuring it from, 6.5 Creedmoor brass in Lapua costs around $1.25 a cartridge based on coupon code, where you're buying it from, what sale you might run into, but an average price is about $1.25 a case. Not even including the value of the ammo box, the actual cost of these cases is somewhere between 72 and 80 cents, depending on where you're buying it from and what quantity you're buying it in, which is certainly more expensive than Hornady or Starline, which run around 54 to 45 cents, depending again on quantity. However, the quality is what we want to talk about today. If you go check out my other videos on my brass, you'll see I do all of the weights and how they varied from lot to lot, but today we're primarily focusing on Lapua. And I will say it's very, very close. Going through again a larger sample size of Lapua, 300 cases. The average weight of Lapua cases was 164.9, with an extreme spread of 1.2 grains from top to bottom. Certainly very good, couldn't ask for anything more. The overall length was very consistent. However, Peterson Brass is not far behind. The average weight was 169.67 grains, extreme spread from top to bottom of 1.58 grains. So not quite as good as Lapua, however, still very tight. Some of the other brands of brass that we looked at had much larger weight tolerances, and I still think the round 1.6 grains is very good from top to bottom. Overall length again is very good. It's cut at basically the same identical length that the Lapua was, running about 1.91, just a little bit larger. Its extreme spread was slightly larger, but it's very, very close. For those of you that might be a little bit concerned, the case volume is slightly less than Lapua, but it is very close. They do try and make this as obvious as possible. With the paperwork that comes in, and I'll put a shot of that on the screen, it does say, for optimal performance, you may need to adjust your load. As you know, the exterior dimensions of the rifle casings for any given caliber, no matter who manufactures them, are close to the same. However, internal dimensions vary considerably among casing manufacturers. As internal dimensions change, so does internal volume. Change in internal volumes will result in change in velocities and pressures. A common finding our customers report is same gun, same bullet, cut my group size in half with Peterson Brass, but this frequently takes reworking their load. Since internal volumes vary between manufacturers, you may need to adjust your load to optimize your performance when using our casings. Happy shooting, Ben Preston, Retail Manager. This Peterson Brass is a product of the USA. I believe it to be made in Pennsylvania. As you might notice, the flag on the box. That all aside, we're not just going to talk about size and dimensions and weights today. We're actually going to talk a little bit about performance. I'll confess I was actually going to run several loads for this brass just to get an idea of how well it performed. And honestly, I didn't really want to report on its initial fire forming simply because I was afraid that it might not be reflective of the true performance of the brass until it was actually fire formed and was at least on its second loading. Since the results were so good and I was so impressed, I decided that I might as well let you guys know right out of the gate. This brass is good. I'm going to be releasing this data in another video, so I'm not sure which one's come out first, so if you've already seen it, I apologize. The initial fire forming load was done during a small rifle primer test. I thought it might be interesting just to see out of the gate what type of performance we could expect, and I figured if anything, we would see more inconsistencies in our brass during this loading simply because of fire forming going on. I won't make you sit through all of the data. If you want to check out my small rifle primer video, it probably either came out last week or it's coming out next week. Stay tuned. Letting the cat out of the bag, I actually tried 9 different primers. Yes, again, 9 different primers through all 50 cases. Even with such a wide variety of primers being used, the average velocity on the load we tested was 2645. Our standard deviation among all 50 shots was 6.7. And our extreme spread of the entire lot was 29. Now, that may not seem entirely impressive into itself. However, if you'd like to pick our best load out of those, the CCI 41 had an average velocity of 2644 with a standard deviation of 2 and an extreme spread of 5, a 4-shot group of 0.493 MOA and a 5-shot group of 0.619 MOA. So, certainly impressive. And if you're wondering if it holds groups, you could go straight to the CCI BR4 test. That average velocity was again 2644 exactly. A standard deviation opened up slightly to 6.4, extreme spread of 17, but the 4-shot group was 0.211 MOA, and the 5-shot group was 0.459 MOA. So like I said, I'm not going to bore you with all that entire set, but I will tell you, if you exclude again the first shot of the day because I forgot to warm up the barrel, yes, that's my fault. Wasn't one group during the day above an MOA. In fact, the largest group we saw 5-shot was 0.818 MOA. Most 4-shot groups were far below 3/4 of an MOA, and honestly, only one exceeded half an MOA. Yes, this was a load that I knew was relatively good for my rifle. However, such exceptional results right out of the gate can only mean one thing: good brass. So guys, that's where I'll leave you today. If you guys want to look out for that video, stay tuned. I'm sure it'll be coming out very shortly on the channel, and you can see all the details with that, because that is the first test we've used with this Peterson Brass. And so far, guys, I really have nothing but good things to say. Obviously, I haven't run enough tests to know exactly what its lifespan will be, but assuming it's like the rest of small rifle primer brass, hopefully it'll have a lot of reloadings. I certainly plan on running it through my annealer to extend my brass life as much as possible. And if I can keep these kind of statistics up, I know I'll be a happy customer. Whether you guys are interested in Peterson Brass, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you have any comments or questions, please post those in the comments section below. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you'd like to see more videos on this Peterson Brass, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you don't miss next week's video. And until then, stay safe in small groups.